As the laughter faded, the camera continued to roll, capturing that fleeting yet powerful moment. The kind of moment that feels so real, so unrehearsed. It breaks through the polished perfection fans are used to seeing. Jungkook wiped his eyes, still chuckling, and Charlie, looking a little smug at the chaos he had just caused, leaned back with an innocent shrug. The world had just witnessed a raw spark of joy between two artists who, despite their fame, seemed entirely human. The video didn't need a caption. It spoke for itself. Within an hour, it had been reposted by fan accounts around the globe, translated into multiple languages, and even featured on trending sections of major platforms. But it wasn't the humor alone that resonated. It was what the laughter represented. For many fans, this was more than entertainment. It was a symbol of relief, a breath, a reminder that their idol could still laugh, still be light, still be free. The reactions online were swift and emotional. Some fans shared clips of their own tears, saying that seeing Jungkook laugh so genuinely reminded them of why they loved him in the first place. Others created fan edits of their past interactions, a nostalgic montage of every hug, every glance, every mispronounced name that had led to this moment. The sense of continuity, of a friendship growing across years and continents, was enough to give fans goosebumps. What made this even more special was the unspoken backstory. Jungkook, as fans know too well, is not someone who always opens up easily in front of the camera. While he is charming, professional, and effortlessly charismatic, there is often a protective layer, one built over years of scrutiny, expectations, and pressure. So when he lets that guard down, when his laugh escapes without filter or restraint, it feels intimate. It feels sacred. Charlie Puth, on the other hand, has always exuded a certain boyish mischief, the kind that either wins you over or gets you in trouble. In this case, it did both. His exaggerated impression of Jungkook's signature vocal runs was not only hilarious, but surprisingly accurate. It was the kind of joke that could have gone awkwardly if done by someone else. But because it was Charlie, someone who had worked with Jungkook, shared stages with him, been publicly vulnerable with him, it landed perfectly. It struck the balance between teasing and tribute. There's something fascinating about watching two people from completely different musical worlds create their own language. It's not just about harmonies or vocal arrangements. It's about timing, comfort, intuition, knowing when to be serious and when to play. That's what was on display in the viral clip. A rhythm, a connection. As the video continued to spread, even non-fans began to weigh in. Music critics praised the chemistry between the two, calling it a rare and refreshing glimpse into real musical camaraderie. Media outlets speculated about a follow-up to Left and Right. Meanwhile, social media analysts noted how the clip perfectly exemplified the current trend of authenticity driving viral content, that the public craves the unscripted, the accidental, the human. But amid all the analysis, there was one thing no one could quite explain: the feeling the video left behind. That strange ache in the chest when something warm reaches you unexpectedly. The kind of joy that doesn't come from the punchline of a joke, but from seeing someone you admire let go and just be. It was that emotional ripple, that resonance, that kept people watching the clip again and again for ARMY. It felt like watching their golden magne be himself, untethered and radiant. For Charlie Puth's fans, it was proof of his genuine connection to the K-pop star and the wider global music family. For casual viewers, it was just a beautiful piece of spontaneous joy. But for everyone, it was unforgettable. Speculation continued to swirl in the following days. Some fans noted that both Jungkook and Charlie had cleared parts of their schedules recently. Others pointed to subtle interactions online, mutual likes, cryptic emojis, studio photos with no context. Conspiracy theories ranged from a hidden EP to a surprise stage performance. Nothing was confirmed, but then again, nothing was denied either. And while theories floated, one undeniable truth remained. Jungkook's laugh had become a moment of healing, not just for him, but for those watching. It reminded the world that joy can be simple, that connection can cross oceans, that two musicians goofing around can mean more than any scripted press release. In the end, maybe that's why it went viral. Not just because it was funny or heartwarming or nostalgic, though it was all those things, but because it felt like a glimpse of something rare, something honest. A reminder that behind every platinum record, every sold-out stadium, every blinding spotlight, there are still people, still friends, still laughter. And somewhere in that laughter, the world remembered why it fell in love with Jungkook in the first place. The laughter may have lasted only a few seconds, but the impact it left was immeasurable. Fans clung to that sound, replaying the clip again and again as if it were a healing balm, a sound they hadn't realized they were missing until it echoed through their screens. For many, it was the first time in months that Jungkook seemed so light, so unburdened, like the weight of the world had momentarily lifted off his shoulders. His eyes, crinkled in joy, his body leaned forward, shoulders shaking with pure, unfiltered amusement. It wasn't just a laugh. It was a window into his soul, and perhaps that was what made the moment so powerful. It wasn't rehearsed. It wasn't carefully curated. There was no fancy backdrop or dramatic music. Just two artists sitting together, one making a ridiculous vocal parody, the other surrendering to the hilarity of it all. It reminded people that underneath the global fame and endless headlines, Jungkook and Charlie were still just two guys who understood each other on a deeply human level. Some fans speculated that this video might be a breadcrumb leading to something bigger, a secret recording, an unannounced project, or even a surprise live performance. But most weren't thinking that far ahead. Most were just grateful. Grateful to witness a fleeting flash of joy in a world that so often demands seriousness, perfection, silence. Grateful to see Jungkook, the ever-evolving idol, simply exist as himself, unguarded, laughing, and alive in the moment. Behind closed doors, there's no telling what conversations these two artists have shared, how they've supported each other, encouraged one another's creativity, and made sense of the chaos that comes with global attention. The music industry is not always kind. It can be isolating, demanding, and brutal in its pursuit of perfection. But what this clip quietly whispered to the world was that friendships like theirs can be a lifeline. Not just collaborations or brand deals, but real, honest companionship that grounds them when the rest of the world spins too fast. Charlie Puth, in his usual effortless way, managed to strike the exact note that unlocked Jungkook's laughter. And it wasn't just the humor. It was the ease, the familiarity, the safety. Jungkook wasn't laughing because someone told a joke. He was laughing because in that moment, he felt seen. He felt understood. And that kind of laughter is rare. That kind of laughter is sacred. As ARMY continued to fill timelines with praise, reactions, fan art, and deep emotional threads about the meaning of the moment, something else began to happen. Even casual viewers, those who didn't know much about BTS or Charlie Puth, found themselves drawn into the simplicity of the interaction. No drama,
No scandal.
just a laugh. And in today's world, that kind of purity is viral in a completely different way. It became clear that this wasn't just about nostalgia or hopes for another collab. It was about presence, about connection, about the things that make us feel human. The video didn't need a script because the emotion spoke louder than any dialogue could. It was as if time stood still just long enough to remind us of what truly matters, not the next chart position or the next award, but the relationships that endure when the cameras stop rolling. Maybe that's why the clip is still being shared days later. Because long after the joke fades and the algorithm moves on, the memory of that laugh stays. It lingers in the heart. It becomes a small beacon for those who needed a reason to smile that day. And for fans who have followed Jungkook's journey from teenage trainee to global icon, it's moments like this, unscripted, unfiltered, and real, that mean more than any accolade ever could. In a world saturated with noise, Jungkook's laughter with Charlie Puth was a gentle reminder that joy is not a luxury. It's a necessity. It's something to hold on to protect, and to share. And in sharing that moment with the world, they did more than entertain. They inspired. What comes next between these two remains to be seen. Will there be new music? Another performance? A follow-up to the magic of left and right? No one knows for sure. But for now, Fans are content to hold this moment close, to bookmark it in their minds as a snapshot of light. And maybe, just maybe, that's enough.